welcome back to Fish and a Rice Cake. And a little bit of a different setup today. We're on a table and chairs, we're not sat down in sofas.
I know, it's a little bit more formal, isn't it?
Yeah,
A
formal,
bit more intimate.
Yeah, I feel
And you were saying we just need a little candle between us, don't we?
little candle into each other's eyes. Yeah.
Although you've got the
Nice
kind of
and
monster with you.
romantic, mate. I'm a
Full
pink
on
one as
like.
well.
Do you know what I thought about this yesterday? I thought, I might bring a can of monster to have whilst I'm there, but it's just too fizzy for me. I use them with checking sometimes. I end up having to pause a checking video because I'm like,
I do that.
So I thought it might not be a good idea for a
midway
podcast.
through a check-in, I'm like regurgitating
Yeah.
monster.
So this will be interesting then. This will be interesting by the third or fourth episode when you're halfway through that.
I think my body's so used to having them
that
I'm actually all right with it now.
Full on, like.
Yeah, this is my favourite one at the moment as well.
White one all the way.
I do like the white one, but I just hammered it. I absolutely hammered it. I had like 2 a day for too long. So that and the Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, that's white one for me, Lewis Hamilton one, and then that one's not bad to be fair.
Yeah, I do like it. It's nice and manly as well. It suits me. Suits my nails, suits my nail colour. So this week, or this episode, we're doing a Q&A.
Q&A episode, yeah. So obviously, back again, Jake and Jake, trying to hopefully give you some non-lecturing, non-sciencey based fitness and training advice to help you figure out where you might have been going wrong and help you get into the shape of your life.
Slightly ranty at the same time.
Slightly ranty at the same time sometimes, depending what mood we're in when we show up. Yeah. But yeah, Q&A episode. So we've done 2. Went pretty
really well, actually.
Yeah.
Really popular, weren't they?
Yeah. So we put another question box out over the weekend this morning to see if there were any more questions, and we've had a few sent through, haven't we? So we're going to go through them as we can. Do you want to kick off, or do you want me to pick one up first?
Yeah, I'll kick off. So we'll get this. We'll get Nicole's up because I know she asked us the same question, and I think
she did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's a really good question actually, because a lot of people listen to this, although they'll be interested in the gym, they'll be interested in the training. A lot of people probably do some form of sport as well. So, for example, Nicole, I think it's hockey. She plays hockey.
Yeah.
But you might do jiu-jitsu. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
That,
I've got a few lads that play rugby.
Yeah, rugby. Any kind of combat sports, football, anything at all. And sometimes kind of structuring your nutrition around that can be quite difficult. So, and even for me right now, so like I was saying to you before, I've kind of mixed up my training methods recently, and it's a bit more intense, which is probably not the best for dieting, but I just needed to mix it up in one way, shape or form. So I'm now trying to, you'll probably notice this morning, I've went and got some Serene. So I'm trying to carb up a little bit more around my training sessions accordingly, so that
You've got more energy for them.
Exactly. So we can go into that. So the question is, anyway, because I've just been talking, how should someone structure their training and nutrition around playing team sports? Obviously not a pro athlete, but would like to enhance my performance on the pitch as much as possible in games and training.
Yeah, so obviously we'll break it down into 2, both the training and the nutrition side of things. Again, we'll literally just answer it in the form of maximizing performance and not necessarily adjusting it for fat loss. Or there wouldn't necessarily be much difference.
No, there wouldn't. You just need, it's just calorie deficit. But, in terms of what we're focusing on, there wouldn't be a great deal of difference.
Yeah. So I'll go in with a training point of view, and we'll cover that first. So if you have a set game every week, and this is quite useful because this is literally what my background was in with strength and conditioning, with the rugby lads and stuff like that. If you know you've got a set match day every week, Saturday or Sunday, or even like a Thursday night game sometimes, and multiple training sessions through the week, you essentially, or what I would view as the best way to do it, would be to taper your training down as you get closer to that match day.
Yeah.
And this was really interesting, actually. So, the training day we put on the other week.
Yeah.
Lauren's obviously a professional referee, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she was saying that the day before their match days, they actually give them like a really intense sprint session to do. And I don't think, and we were just like, I can't understand why you would do that, because you're just going to go into a match day massively fatigued.
Yeah.
Whereas how we always went to run things from an S&C point of view would be, okay, let's say match day's on a Sunday. So you start your week there, match days on Sunday. Obviously, the priority is to bring performance to that Sunday match day as best as it possibly can be. You don't want to be coming in fatigued, tired, anything like that. So you would then probably take Monday as an active recovery day. So it might be a complete rest day, or it might just be some very light, steady state cardio or of some form with some maybe mobility work, rehabilitation work, sort of foam rolling, stuff like that. and then you'd sort of go in quite aggressive at the start of the week with the gym.
Yeah,
or
that's when you
fitness
want
side
your
of
high
things.
intense, your more intense thing kind of work to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you might require a bit more recovery time, and then that tapers down as the week progresses.
Yeah, so you do your higher intensity sessions on sort of your Tuesday and your Wednesday. You'd then probably take Thursday almost again as a bit of an active recovery day with some light steady state cardio for fitness, some rehabilitation, or sort of almost prehab work for the weekend to keep
Yeah.
on top of anything. And then you might go in with a sort of moderately intense session on a Friday. Again, this just from being the fitness training point of view, not like if you take into account skills sessions involved with team sports. You might then go for a moderate intensity on the Friday. And again, a Saturday would be almost a prehab based day again. It would be a very moderate to low intensity.
That would be a low
if any.
intensity day. And like you say, maybe you've got any niggles, any pains,
Yeah,
you'd tend to them a little bit on that day.
exactly. So that you're coming into then your match day fully recovered. You're not fatigued. You've not got any niggles, ideally, and your performance will be the best it can be.
Yeah.
So that would be the ideal way to structure it. Sort of front load the intense work, make sure you've got a couple of recovery days in there, and taper it down towards a match day.
So for the average person, so for someone like Nicole who's not a pro athlete, you know, it's more for, you know, I know she's very competitive with it, but for someone like Nicole, what would you say then? Because obviously during the week she's going to have to train, so I'm assuming there might be like a training session a Monday, Wednesday, let's say, for example. That tends to be the kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she probably wants to go to the gym a few times as well.
Yeah.
And probably get the most out of those gym sessions. So bearing in mind that you're not a pro athlete, what would your approach be there?
Yeah, I think ideally then you probably would split that across the week. So you might go, right, okay, Monday's my gym day, Tuesday's my field-based sort of conditioning day where we do our, fitness work and everything like that. Wednesday might be a second gym day. Thursday might be the second field-based gym session. Friday might be your third gym day. Your second field session. Friday might be your third gym day, and then Saturday be your recovery day. So that would be tougher because you wouldn't necessarily get like a midweek recovery day, but you could within that make sure that like the Tuesday sprint sessions, fitness sessions, maybe the Tuesday one is a little bit more intense, and then the Thursday one is slightly tapered down.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing you could almost do. Your Monday and Wednesday workouts could be the more intense workouts, or you could even potentially say, right, Monday and Friday are going to be my heavier workouts, and then even though I'm going into the gym on Wednesday, it's going to be slightly less volume. It's going to be a little bit easier, almost act as sort of almost like an active recovery day.
Yeah.
And then you'd go in, give yourself a rest day on the Saturday, ready to push on the Sunday.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. That's the exact way I'd approach it. But I think it's always difficult because obviously you're talking from a professional standpoint. People, you've got loads of time and freedom to do that stuff, whereas the normal person don't want to get the most out of every single week, and like you say, for someone like Nicole, that I think that would work well. Taking almost a day off before the game, especially if you've had an intense week of training up to that point. And I suppose that leads on to nutrition.
It does, because then you can split your nutrition around those sessions much, much easier. Because if we just sort of take it to fat loss for a second, I've got some clients that will try and double up on some days and be like, I'll do the gym in the morning and I'll go to my rugby training in the evening. And more often than not, they end up finishing that rugby session absolutely knackered, hungry, and they end up just overeating because they're so tired and fatigued. So it's like, if we can keep them separate and manage that sort of demand and fatigue a little bit better, we'll manage your hunger easier as well.
Yeah.
But it does lead into nutrition nicely.
Yeah, and just going on to that as well, I think the fatigue, when we say fatigue, is obviously it's physical, but it's also mental as well. Like when you're training that much, that's the reason that generally you overeat, because your body's not recovering well enough, then you feel tired, and mentally it has a knock-on effect, and that leads to then opening the cupboards and seeing what you can get your hands on, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively. So from a nutrition point of view then, how would you go about?
So I mean, there's a few different ways, as we know, but naturally around kind of training when it's slightly more intense, for example, I just mentioned myself, you want to get in more, you want to be kind of focusing more on macros at this point. So for example, you might, if you're coming from a background just looking at calories and protein, this would be a good time to start actually paying more attention to fats and carbohydrates as well.
Massively.
Only because you're going to be depleting glycogen stores, you're going to need that fuel, and your body's going to thrive on more carbohydrates for that, okay? So there's a few different ways that you can do it. Again, I depending on where you're at, depending if it's fat loss or if it's just purely kind of performance related, there's two different approaches to take here. But I would probably look at your more intense sessions throughout the week. So say you have got a really intense training session and obviously a game day, it's going to be an intense day in terms of effort. You'd probably want those kind of days to be higher carbohydrate, right? So you might have like a training day set, macros, and then non-training day. And that non-training day could be just in the gym as well, where you just go in and you're just going through your resistance training. So certainly kind of balancing some increasing carbohydrates, and you want to start thinking about getting those in around the training sessions and in and around the games as well. So fueling up adequately before and then afterwards as well to make sure you're recovering well.
Yeah.
And I don't think it needs to get too much more. You can go into more nuances, but like it doesn't need to get too much more complicated for the everyday athlete.
Yeah, and it just massively comes down to the person. There's so much nuance to it because one of my past clients, she's a downhill mountain biker, like she's like a world, I think she won UKs for a few years back to back, and she's like competing on the world level.
Good standard.
Oh yeah, she's class. And but for her pre-race, she just can't eat because she's just nervous and she just can't stomach anything. So even though you would say theoretically you'd want to load in with some carbohydrates pre-race to make sure you've got any energy, the few times that we tried that, she just felt heavy and she just felt sick and she just couldn't keep it down.
The thing I'd say there is you could potentially go down the liquid route, just like
you could. So what she would have,
she
would literally have like a mocha. She would she'd have a mocha. She'd have a bottle of Lucozade, like a sports one, not a fizzy one, and she'd have a bit of dark chocolate, and that'd be it because that's pretty much all she could stomach. But I generally would sort of say, when it comes to fueling on those heavier days for a more intense field-based session or for a game day, I generally go in with like a 60-40 split. So I'd say 60% of your daily carbs want to be around that training window, pre-post game, pre-post session, whatever it is. And then the remaining 40% you can just sort of evenly split across. And then that gives you a baseline to sort of run that for a couple of weeks. And then you can be like, right, how did I feel off of that? How was I feel when I'm performing? Did I feel heavy, sluggish? How was my energy? And you can just start to play around with it a little bit from there. Some people might need more. One guy I've got, he's not a team sports, but he's a powerlifter. He just doesn't function well off of carbs, like at all.
Some people don't. And again, this is so I was listening to a guy's podcast the other day he trains very intensely. But he's done it for like 10 years. And I was watching like a typical kind of YouTube episode of like what he eats in a day, just because I was intrigued, because he's in great shape and I know that he trains stupidly hard. And he's the same. He knows his body, but it's taken him 10 years to figure that out.
Yeah.
So, for you, again, whoever's listening and is intrigued in this stuff, you have to kind of trial and error it yourself, because I know I react better to carbohydrates, but some people are better with more fats.
Yeah.
And it's just, everybody's different.
It is, yeah. So yeah, that's what you typically want to do. Is like you
figure out your macros. So for someone like Nicole, what would you say is the best way for her to start looking at that?
If she's going in at maintenance, let's say she's just looking to maintain a weight, which is obviously going to be what you'd want to do to maximize your performance.
Yeah.
From a protein point of view, you'd be looking at like 2 grams per kilo of body weight.
It could even be slightly lower, couldn't it?
It could if she's in maintenance, yeah. It depends on the amount of expenditure she's doing, I would say. So you'd want to go in with 2 grams of that. And then I'd probably go again with like a 70-30 split, carbs and fats, just as a baseline, and see where you're at. You might want to go slightly higher on you might want to go 70-30 on an intense day, maybe 60-40 on a rest day, something like that. And then it's just a case of running it for a week or two, seeing how your body responds, seeing how you perform, how you feel, and then you just
the metrics to look at there are how you feel on the training day, or on the match day, how were your energy levels during, and how did you feel after, and if you felt okay, if it was all good, and like you're like fucking hell, felt mint in that second, felt really good in that game, that weight from you, and you can even then start playing around with it a bit more and be like, okay, can I do a bit of carb loading before the day before? And you can start really kind of peaking. Like I've got one guy who I was working with for a while who was doing, I don't want to say F1 racing, but he was that's what he spent his weekends racing on a racetrack, and it was really intense. Like his expenditure was just through the fucking roof, like mental, the amount of calories he expend, just the physical demands of like driving one of those cars. And we used to kind of start loading carbs 2 or 3 days before, just because he felt really good on that. So that would take him into the weekend in a really good place. He would then kind of generally have another couple of high days, again, more carbohydrates and fats on those racing days. And he felt great for that. He went from like, listen, I'm rubbish with racing stuff, but he went from being kind of mid-table, should we say, to like starting to win races. And that was purely down to the fact that he felt better. He was recovering better, he was performing well.
And you can always backload your carbs, even if you're not on necessarily a higher day the day before a match, for example. You could always backload your carbs into the evening so that when you come around in the morning, you've sort of got more, not necessarily more carbs in your system because the net amount's the same, but you've had them in more recently, so you might just feel a little bit fuller that next morning. And then you can start sort of loading up into the match. So you might say, right, I'm going to have a normal full breakfast, carb-heavy breakfast 4 hours before. Then you might have another meal 2 hours before, and then you might have a really small snack like 60 minutes before, like literally like a banana or something like that, and a bit of dark chocolate. And that could literally be your loading strategy. And then post-match, it's like you want to make sure you can maximize recovery post-match, but some people will have like a club dinner afterwards. So then, again, dependent on the person.
Generally, that's going to be you're gonna tick boxes with something like that. Generally,
something like that though. With most of my clients, I'll be like, look, let's map out your calories in your food pre-match, and then if you've got a club dinner post-match, just go and enjoy them.
Yeah, and like the club dinner's usually like a chili or something. You're gonna tick most of the boxes you need to, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully that helps.
It.
Yeah, so hopefully that helps, Nicole. Thanks for the question.
It does. Right, so question number 2. This one was nice, short and sweet. Ice baths and saunas, thinking of getting them pop-up ones. What do you think? Now, there isn't any context in terms of what their goal is or what they want it for. I think they just were like, they look pretty cool.
If you want one, get one. Like,
yeah, I mean, I sort of said back to them, like, there's certainly more research back in the saunas than there is the ice bath in terms of like recovery. The ice baths there's some.
There is a little bit of research for recovery, isn't there? But I think as well, what you've got to remember. So I was talking to a guy in the gym about this other day, actually, in the sauna, and I mentioned about the ice baths, and he's like, "I do it after every training session," and I was a bit like, "Okay," and we started talking, and because the thing is, this lad also wants to gain muscle, like that was why he's in the gym. And I said, well, actually, if you think about it, if you go straight from, because the idea behind, being in the gym is getting enough blood around your muscles that you want to develop, et cetera, et cetera. So going straight into an ice bath is probably not maybe the wisest idea. Like, I don't know if there's
The thinking behind them is that they help reduce inflammation. The problem with that is if you're going into the gym to build muscle tissue, and we know we're wanting to put that acute stress on your body, which is going to, certainly for a short amount of time, increase the amount of stress on your body and increase the amount of inflammation and increase your cortisol level. That's good. That's what you need, because obviously increased cortisol is going to help increase insulin, which helps obviously with you building a bit more muscle.
Yeah.
If you go straight into an ice bath to help reduce that, and it does help reduce that, maybe not, you're almost reducing that window of time or the sort of effectiveness of that post-workout sort of window where you can maximize that. So,
and again, this is just because there's not a ton of research on this. So I think this is more us just kind of speculating a little bit, but that's the way I would view it as well.
Yeah. And I sort of said, I think it's more of a mindset thing with those than it is a physical thing. Like, if you believe it's helping and it helps you push a little bit harder, or it helps you feel a bit more sort of routined and structured for the day, great. Especially people that get up and do them in the morning. Like, fair play to you, because I ain't going to do that.
I think it's almost majoring in the minors, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? When you think, should I do it, should I not? Like, fucking, if you enjoy it, like, fucking do it.
If you get up in the morning and you jump into it for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, I don't use them, so I don't know how long, but I imagine it's not that long. If that makes you feel more motivated for the day to be like, right, let's crack on with everything else, then yeah, it's probably going to be pretty useful.
I think most people use them for like the mental health. Like, it just sets them off on a good note.
Yeah.
And if that's the reason using it, brilliant.
I think they've definitely got a bigger placebo and psychological effect than a physical one.
Yeah, and it's the same with things like, I know it sounds daft, like comparing a fucking sauna to a pre-workout, but I always used to think that with pre-workouts because I never really, I mean, apart from the crazy ones back in the day, like hemo, like, I never really felt like crazy effects off them, but it was more the fact that if I had a pre-workout, the placebo that I got from that was like, right, fucking, you've got to train now. You know what I mean? Like, and you've got to put the work in.
Yeah.
So if it works for you, then great, do it.
I say the exact same thing with pre-workouts, because I'll have them. I try not to have them all the time. I don't have stim-based ones because they do just not even. I don't necessarily feel it in the session like a buzz or anything. It's just post session sometimes, if depending on the pre-workout, I'll feel like a bit of a crash and a slump, which then obviously
I
affects
used to
work.
just get like crazy anxiety after.
Yeah,
Fucking
so
mental.
I don't have them at all, but I might have like a pump-based one. And even then, I try and save them just for the days where you want a bit of an extra kick, because then it does have a bit of a bigger impact.
Yeah.
But it is just that routine. It's like, right, I've had my pre-workout, I'm ready
Gonna
for
go
the
train
gym.
hard.
I need to go put this to use now.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Saunas, there definitely is a bit more research with the effectiveness for them actually helping improve your recovery from workouts and stuff. But you don't need to be doing them like post-workout. You can sort of do them. Have you seen the little portable ones you can sit in?
Yeah,
They're quite cool.
They're like, they're quite small, aren't they?
Yeah, they're literally just pretty much just bigger than a chair. So you literally sit in them like you would a chair and it zips around you. But they can be quite useful from a recovery point of view. But again, it's one of those, like, if you're not nailing the basics anyway, the difference that getting a sauna is going to make is negligible. Like if you're not consistently getting
if you're not in your protein,
if you're not getting your nutrition right, if you're not training hard enough, if you're not sleeping properly, a sauna's not going to fix that. Like, it might feel pretty cool, but
the best supplement you can get, the best is, and it's so boring, it's such like a fucking fitness cliche, but it's like sleep. Fucking, getting your nutrition right, doing your steps. Once you've got all that shit nailed, it's like trying to put fucking spinning rims on a Vauxhall Corsa. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to do it. Like,
you're just kind of shiny
until
shit.
you've sorted the chassis out, like fucking,
It's literally that. There's nothing wrong with them, but if you've not got the fundamentals in place, then you don't need to worry about it. So there is another one. I'll just check we've not had any more sent in last minute.
Yeah, I'll have a little look as well.
But I don't think we have, but I have got one more.
I think I had one or two, but they weren't actually
So
related.
no, so I've got one that isn't, well, I guess it's nutrition related. It's not fitness related, but it was quite interesting. And it literally was just, what's your death row meal?
Death row meal. Wow. So this is...
This is going to be dangerous because we're both dieting at the minute. So chatting about our ideal meal is not fun.
I've already got, there's two for me, like,
right.
And it would be a flip of a coin which one I went for. So for me, I'd love nothing more than a roast dinner. Like, that's, my dad's like, he's a really good cook. So credit to you, Dad, if you watch. Wish you won't. So I don't even know why I'm saying that. But he's amazing. And like the roast dinners he does, they're pretty like famous around like my friendship group. Like if people get an invite to a cafe, I love it. So a roast dinner, drowned in gravy, roast potatoes, the whole shebang, pigs in blankets, everything. That for me would definitely be.
Sounds like a Christmas dinner, innit? Like full trimmings.
Yeah, I want everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Yorkshire puds, the lot, right? So that would be option one. And option two, I love pizza. I fucking love pizza. Like a proper pizza, pepperoni, double cheese. Like that for me is also amazing. So it would be a flip of a coin between those two. And I'd probably lean slightly towards the roast dinner a bit more, just because of family tradition.
Yeah. What, are you having anything else with it? What drink are you having with it?
What drink am I having with it? Guinness.
With a roast dinner?
It's a Sunday, it's a Sunday, mate. It's a Sunday meal.
I would feel stodgy after that.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the idea, innit? You just need a nap.
Not half. You'd be passing out in your chair.
Guinness, roast dinner.
You got any starter or anything afterwards with it?
Don't fucking need a starter, really. But if I was gonna go for dessert, cheesecake.
Yeah, I do like a cheesecake. I'm not a dessert person, but if there's a cheesecake on the menu, that is.
You asked this question.
Yeah, I know.
You're starving now.
Yeah, I know. I'm like that with dessert. I don't typically get them, but if I do, it's probably going to be a cheesecake or something like that. I got a
cheesecake.
Where was it? I can't remember where it was. It was a few years ago, but they were doing like a Mars bar cheesecake or something, and it was
incredible.
It was beauty.
When we go to Dubai, the end of January, they have a cheesecake factory.
They do. I saw it in the mall. I went past it in March.
We're not doing then. So
we're
going, right.
There was an ice cream place that Rowan took us in the mall, and I can't remember what it was called. He'll know because he buzzes off of it. Rightly so. It was well nice.
Yeah. And
he took us there, and we got some ice cream there, and we were just walking around the mall. I was like, absolutely banging. So I'll definitely take it out. I'll get him.
Amazing there, isn't it? I've never been, but the food in Dubai in general.
Do you know what? I don't know because all I had was Five Guys every day. Because we were literally
you got a pizza as well. I remember seeing a pizza. I'm sure I did.
I didn't get a pizza. One of the guys got a pizza.
Okay.
But because we were sort of up and out every day, me and Troy would go out for breakfast in the morning, and we'd literally either, if we had time, we'd get like a full breakfast, or if not, we'd literally get like an almond croissant, which I know you like, from Starbucks and a coffee. And then we'd be out all day till like 6, 7 in the evening. And then because it's quite pricey and I didn't want to be spending all my money on food, there was literally a Five Guys like 2 minutes from my apartment. So I'd just go back and I'd just get a Five Guys on an evening and just chill out. And that was it. So I didn't really experience any of the food over there. So we'll definitely have to do that next time.
But yeah, go on, mate. What's yours?
Mine at the minute, it'll probably change, especially when we're not dieting. But mine at the minute is a calzone Kiev there's a
calzone Kiev.
Yeah, so I'm not even like, I like Italian and I always have done, but I definitely over the last few years, like I don't really go for it that much. I'm not over I really like Thai food and Vietnamese food and stuff like that, and like Indian. They're like my favorites by a mile. But there's something about, there's a place by us, like a local pizza house, which has just been around since my entire life. And it's just a place like my mates worked in it growing up. It was where you always went if you wanted a pizza. And I think it's just like the nostalgia of it more than anything.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute wedge. It's just a calzone Kiev. So it's like chicken, ham, garlic, cheese, all that kind of stuff. Just a folded pizza.
Because Kiev is,
is
like breaded chicken in it.
Yeah, well, it's just chicken and garlic.
Right, okay.
So it's just your folded pizza, chicken and garlic and ham. But it's literally bigger than a plate. Like it is bigger than a plate. And I'd not had it. I used to get it if we ever got a takeaway growing up. That'd be what I'd get.
Is one of them where you go into is like molten lava.
Yeah.
So
and it's like the stodginess of like dough that's like rolled in on itself.
Amazing.
I always used to get them, like when we were growing up and we get a takeaway. And then I'd not had one for years because me and Sophie moved about sort of 15, 20 minutes away and closer to the centre of town. So whenever if I ever ate out, I just get like delivery somewhere. Yeah. I'm like Five Guys a lot of the time. There's a trend developing here. But I got, for my birthday in August during this diet, I got like just an off-plan day. And I was like, do you know what? I really fancy one. And I went back and I got one and I had it. And I was like, this is literally the nicest thing I've ever had. Like, I miss this so much.
Yeah, it's probably because you were dieting at the time, though.
It is, but I get that. I'll put a bit of pepper on it and I'll get like a handful of greens to go next to it, just, health.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a bit better.
Out, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. If you have a handful of greens with a Kiev that's bigger than a plate.
It's like getting a 2,000 calorie Five Guys, but with a Diet Coke.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It balances it out. It doesn't count. I went too far once and I was like, I put some broccoli with it. I put all sorts with it. And I was like, this has just ruined the meal. But no. So just a handful of greens and I had that. And I was literally like, this is amazing. And now the problem with having that again recently, now it's on my mind and it's like the first thing I want to have when I finish this.
So
is go and get
that's
that.
It. Is that your decision made, or is
that'd definitely be a main? Right, I wouldn't need a starter because it's so stodgy. Then like it proper fills you. Do you know, genuinely, if I got a dessert, I'd make a bowl of oats.
Oh,
I would genuinely. I know it sounds sad, but my genuine favorite meal. I've had it for breakfast this morning. I've had it for breakfast every morning for like 2.5 years now. I've got it in my bag.
Fruit bowl.
I've got it in my bag for after we've recorded these as well. It's literally chocolate protein with some oats, a square of dark chocolate on top, and some raspberries. And like I'm buzzing with that. I would have that after a calzone would be quite stodgy. I'd have that.
Yeah, but health in it.
Yeah,
health. Balances.
And then not a pint of Guinness. Even if I do drink, it's a Guinness. I couldn't have a Guinness with that.
I wouldn't have a Guinness with that.
No.
Do you know what I would have with that? Especially if it's from a takeaway kind of place. Either a fizzy Vimto.
Yeah,
I love fizzy Vimto. It's more of a.
I've not had fizzy Vimto, but I'd either go a Fanta orange or a Fanta fruit twist. That would be my.
I was going to or a Fanta orange as another one. Yeah, Fanta orange or fizzy Vimto. If you ever get a chippy, I've not had a chippy for ages now, but when you go, they always have them in chippies.
Yeah.
That I don't know what it is, but you get fish chips. I'm a gravy man over curry, right?
Yeah.
Fish chips, gravy, salt, vinegar, and a fizzy Vimto.
See, I'll get the curry sauce with fish and chips. But the one thing that I started doing a few years ago, and it was actually a woman who told me in the gym I used to work at, she was like, the only thing I don't like about fish and chips is how greasy and stodgy you feel afterwards.
Yeah.
And she was literally like...
That's why you can't have them all the time.
Yeah, I say this all the time. I'm like, I always get a craving for them like once every 6 months. And then when I have them, I'm like, I wasn't even bothered about that. Yeah. I didn't even enjoy it. I did enjoy it, but not as much as I always think I will do.
For me, it's when you're holidaying in the UK.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we went down to, where were we not long ago? Cornwall.
Yeah.
It's almost like tradition.
Yeah, you've got
on the beach and have fish and chips.
Yeah.
Something about it.
But she said to me, she was like, if you ever get them, she was like, just have it with like a cup of tea. And I don't normally have tea, but it just stops it from, I don't know whether it's the heat stops like the sort of grease coagulating, because I know when I used to have fizzy drinks with it, that'd make me feel really stodgy and heavy. But you have a cup of tea with it, it's probably why old people do it when you're looking.
Yeah.
And it just settles so much nicer. And I was like, it is a lot nicer. So I've started doing, if I have them, which is rare, I'll have it with a cup of tea, and
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
sit a lot nicer.
Okay.
But yeah, it wouldn't be my dream meal. Calzone Kia every time.
Calzone
Every
Kia,
time. Yeah. But yeah,
We got any more questions?
I think that was it. Just the 3 today.
I did have someone message saying, not a question, but tell Dave to take Declan Rice out of his fantasy football team.
I have no idea what I'm doing with this
Well, let's have a look, see where
fantasy
you're at.
football team.
To be
Yeah.
honest, I had a stinker a weekend.
So for reference, we've got like a full fantasy football league. How many are in it? About 80
Quite a
odd
lot.
people.
About 80 people in it.
Yeah, you're like first or second.
I'm
You've been
not anymore,
smashing it.
mate. I'm down to 6.
All right, 6th. I'm like 76 for something. I don't follow. I haven't.
Two of my clients have overtaken me this weekend.
I haven't
so,
followed football for years. So when I was putting that team together, I just went for the names I recognised, which
Yeah.
weren't many, and then I keep forgetting to check it.
so
But yeah,
82 in the league. 80.
I was like 77th last
Oh,
time I checked.
You're 80th.
Yeah, so
I'm
worse.
82th. You're not bottom.
I'm not bottom.
Yeah, you're not bottom. I'm currently 6.
I just had to get rid of all my Man U players as well recently.
Yeah, they're not very good.
No.
But yeah, 2 of my clients have overtaken me this weekend, so extra cardio for you.
I couldn't do it. If I did that to my clients, they'd all be getting extra cardio.
Yeah, you fucking hell, yeah.
Although I've just started playing FIFA again for the first time in like 10 years.
The new FIFA's just come out as well.
Yeah, I've just seen that. I've
Yeah.
got the one from last year.
Tempted to buy it, but the problem is I've got quite an addictive personality. So if I buy something like FIFA,
You'll be on it.
I'll be on it all the time.
Yeah.
And right now, I just don't have time anymore. Between like balancing work and theatre and just general life, I know if I buy it, something I'll have to give.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can't
You ain't
afford
got
that.
the time.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
no FIFA for me.
No, we'll have to see if I get better with the football for the season, but I just don't remember to check it.
I forgot this weekend.
And even when I do, I'm still taking a stab in the dark as to who I'm taking out and putting in.
Sounds like you've got a cool name. Get him
But
in. You asked me. I think you asked me if Wayne Rooney was still playing or Beckham.
I did. I said I was going to get Van Nistelrooy to start. Robin van Persie. I used to be a massive Arsenal fan when I was younger. He was always my favourite. Him, and I like Thomas Rosicky. No idea why.
Yeah.
No particular reason, I guess.
Get them in, mate.
Get them back in.
We'll do better than what your lot are doing.
Could be doing any worse.
Right, I think that covers that episode.
Does. See you in the next one.
See you soon.